Thank you all for coming. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Kano?
Here.
Mr. Gomes?
Present.
Mrs. Boland?
Here.
Mr. Carlin?
Here.
Dr. Flowers?
Present.
Mrs. Gaines?
Here.
Mrs. Sylvia?
Here.
Thank you. If we could all stand for the pledge to the flag. Please keep the following individuals who have passed away in your thoughts and prayers with a moment of silence. Mary Nunes, mother-in-law of Mary Gewalt Nunes. Aline Lefebvre, aunt of Lisa Butterbaugh. David High, uncle of Kate and John Dussel. And Jean Imondi, aunt of David Kusajani. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Ms. Nash, has anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, we have public comment.
Excellent.
Nico Merritt?
If you could just, step right up to the mic. Thank you, Nico. Just let us know who you give us your name, and the mic is yours.
Hi, Nico. Just, you need to state your name and your address, please. And Ms.
Sure.
Nash will do the timer, okay?
Sure.
Just to let you know.
Okay, thank you. My name is Nico Merritt, and I live on Ledyard Street in Newport. Okay. I just wanted to speak for some of the community members that are not often represented here and let you all know that even though we're not physically here, we still care very much about our children's education. The level of civic engagement is on the rise. When you look around tonight, you see my friends, community members, representatives from the North Side leadership team of the Health Equity Zone, and members of Sankofa Community Connection. We all work to spread the word and encourage attendance tonight. Sorry, I'm nervous. Just one more thing. I've been watching the meetings online. Please keep in mind that the community that you all serve is paying attention. Even more importantly, our kids are paying attention. Some of the things that go on at the meetings may take some of the focus and energy off of the agenda and tasks at hand. I hope that we can all come together as one, as your strategic plan suggests, one Newport, for the sake and academic success of our children. Thank you for your time and all that you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nada DeJesus, and I live at 147 Beacon Street, apartment 3, and this is my first time attending, so I'm just here to be supportive and also get more involved with the school. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have Jennifer Jackson.
Good evening, my name's Jennifer Jackson. I reside at 38 Dudley Ave in Newport. I want to thank the school committee for coming down here to do your meetings. I think that's a positive change, and we appreciate you coming to our side of town. And thank you for everybody turning out. This is a great turnout, and I appreciate it. I'm very active in my community. I love my community. I love the schools. I love the teachers, everybody. But what I want to get at real quick, 'cause there's many things that concern me and my community and the stories I hear, is I think as a parent, we need to be more informed. That you can say that the things are out there, but we are very disconnected. The parents, it's hard to get into the schools. It's hard to get information. Don't throw a website at me. I mean, just pulling up the policy manual and trying to print it out, you got to pull up each individual policy and print one at a time. That's not even user-friendly. I can't even just print policy manual. I have to go individually. We often have conversations about needing the school more transparent, more open to us parents and our opinions. We know our children the best. You can throw a study at me, you can throw statistics. That does give you a borderline to go on, but you need to hear the parents. You need to listen to the community. We are a very diverse and wonderful community. And on this side of town, we do feel disconnected and often uninformed. And I would like to throw a suggestion out there that the school committee, superintendent, assistant superintendent, the admin personnel from all 3 schools create a format where parents can come to, and we can just have discussions. It doesn't have to be so formal where you guys can't interact with us and talk to us, but an open format. So maybe there's things in play that we do not know about, or maybe there's suggestions as parents and people of the community we can open your eyes to. There is several things that trouble me and concern me, and it's like you put the standards of the parents to do background checks and have to be at a certain level, but I feel as though we need to also put the same standards for staffing, you know, and there's many things I could throw out there, but I'm not going to bore you, but I do want to challenge you guys to do a format where you come and talk to us parents, and not where as though parents talk and voice their concerns and you hope that you're heard, because even going to the buildings and voicing your concerns, it doesn't always get heard. You know, these overworked, and we have a lot of issues, but we have a lot of great things too, but the issues can overconquer the great. And I want us to become the best we can, and in order to do that, I think you need to start listening to the parents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Next, we have Mike Cullen.
Thank you, members of the school committee, for coming out to Pell School as well. This is very convenient. Mr. Chairman, there's a $1 billion economic opportunity sitting right here on this island that this committee isn't talking about in public. I ask, why be silent? The community would benefit from your collective and individual promotion of the following. Number 1, in the last year, Navy Newark employee base has grown to 3,100 jobs. Newark managers report that they must increasingly recruit from Virginia and Puerto Rico. Why? Because they cannot find the local grads with STEAM skills. Number 2, General Dynamics Electric Boat Division across the bay now needs thousands of new workers to build and maintain the next generations of submarines for the next 60 years. But they can't find sufficient local talent either, so they're currently recruiting in Kentucky, a state that has many STEAM-focused public schools. Finally, Mr. Chairman, on Sunday, the co-founder, CEO, chairman of Middletown-based KVH Industries was interviewed by Ted Nesi on WPRI Channel 12 program Executive Suite. Martin Kitts Van Hanegem said that Rhode Island has plenty of great jobs available, but too few Rhode Islanders in the pipeline with the required skills. His international business is growing, yet he can't find enough people here in Rhode Island with the tech skills to meet his needs. Last year, Brookings Institution handed their economic development report to Governor Raimondo. The report cited the urgent need for homegrown STEAM talent pool 80 times. Why are we all not talking about filling these gaps? Teachers, union leaders, families, politicians. Why isn't this skills gap a more urgent priority? Why so much public silence? Mr. Chairman, Newport's kids of all backgrounds need much stronger STEAM skills beginning early with math. It's criminal that 61% of the 300 students at this school who took the math test last year failed to score at the proficient level. Wouldn't you say we have a problem? It's criminal that none of the 26 black students who took Algebra 1 math test last year scored proficient. Don't we have a problem? Isn't it criminal that only 5% of the 44 Hispanic students, 2 kids, who took the Algebra 1 test last year scored proficient? Don't we have a problem? Wrapping up, sure, free Rhode Island college tuition sounds awesome for those who prefer to kick the can and kick the kids out the door of Rogers High School with the diploma and the plan. Sure, we can send them forward to CCRI for the remedial classes in general math and algebra and English. But Mr. Chairman, what we need from this committee is a public, one Newport discussion with us on confronting, fixing the system's poor math achievement that's crippling the futures of too many of Newport's sons and daughters. Let's fill these awesome careers around here with Newport grads. Let's giddy up, folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave.
Okay, and we have, Leanne Giroux is here, she'd like to speak on agenda item 4.1, so we'll have her speak at that time.
Nan, we can bring you right up when we speak on that, if you don't mind. All right, we'll recognize you then. Thank you very much. Is that it for public? Thank you very much. And I thank you, and I'm glad we got the turnout we did. This was our desired result, to get some more people out to our meetings and mix it up a little bit. So thank you guys for coming out. The next report we'll have is going to be from the Student Council update. Ms. Yana Tolich is absent this evening, so we have Ms. Maeve Byrne, who was more than willing to fill in. So Maeve, you got it.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late. I thought it was at Rogers. So on the sports front, Rogers softball, which I'm a member of, has started the team 2-0. We beat Middletown yesterday 20-2, and we beat Johnston last week 10-2.
Nice.
Boys lacrosse started the season strong with a win against Smithfield, and then they lost yesterday 7-5 against Tollgate. Boys and girls track teams will compete on Thursday at God A. JROTC, will be hosting their annual military ball at the Officers Club on the Navy base on Thursday night. The National Honor Society induction has been postponed to May 25th, 2017, because the former date, which was in April, there was a sports game for every team. The Night to Remember fashion show will be held on Thursday, April 13th at 6 p.m. at Ochre Court, along with silent auction. Tickets are available online and range from $25 to $45, depending on the deal you would like. Online donations are accepted as well. All proceeds go to the junior and senior classes for their proms. The Glow Dance last weekend raised over $1,800 for the senior class. A special thank you to the Rhode Island Prevention Resource Center for their help with funding the expenses for the dance. The Rogers Math Department is holding the Financial Literacy Fair in the gym tomorrow morning, which is awesome. I'm attending it. And it teaches students about all the purchases they will potentially make once their career, and also teaches them how to assess their money. And they've been coming into our math classes and helping us out, which is great. And lastly, the third quarter has been extended until April 27th after vacation. That's it.
That's it? Thank you.
Oh, and next Wednesday there's a fundraiser for prom.
All right.
Also, sorry.
That's okay.
Also, the girls lacrosse team, the boys lacrosse team, and the girls softball team is all fundraising online with a GoFundMe type thing. So you can probably find those links somewhere on Facebook if you feel like you want to donate.
Thank you, Maeve. Thank you very much. I guess I got to go get fitted. I didn't realize that thing was Thursday night, so Mr. Procrastination. I can't wait. The next part we're on 4, and which will be the resolutions and certificates. The first one would be 4.1, which is the one that Nan Haru is here to speak on. So, Ms. Haru, if you would like to take the mic.
Good evening. My name is Nan Haru, and I live at 51 Bay Ridge Drive, and that's in Middletown. I'm the secretary of the Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence. The Rhode Island Coalition is a coalition of 96 partner organizations ranging from Rhode Island chapters of national organizations such as the National Organization of Social Workers, the NAACP, the American College of Physicians, all the way down to local groups such as the Essence T. Crystal Memorial Foundation, the URI Center for Nonviolence and Peace Studies, the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and the Rhode Island State Council of Churches. Over 120 Rhode Islanders are represented by these partners. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with you tonight about the No Guns in Schools resolution, which is sponsored by the coalition. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. The resolution supports Bills H5345 and S0187. These will eliminate a contradiction in Rhode Island law regarding schools as gun-free zones. Although guns are not allowed in Rhode Island schools under General Law 114760, a contradiction exists in State Law 114711, giving anyone who holds a permit to carry a concealed weapon the right to carry that weapon everywhere. That's the wording in that law. The proposed legislation supported by our resolution would allow only law enforcement personnel to be armed on school property and make it clear that concealed weapons carried by civilians are not allowed in our schools or on school properties. And school property includes sports fields, buses, events that schools sponsor. So we want those events to be free from guns. We recognize that while most concealed carry permit holders are responsible people with legitimate reasons to hold permits, none have the training or qualifications needed to respond appropriately in a crisis situation involving a shooter. Our contention is that the presence of guns in schools in the hands of anyone other than well-trained law enforcement make our children less safe. Law enforcement officials, such as the Rhode Island Police Chiefs Association and the Rhode Island State Police, agree with this, and they are in support of the No Guns in Schools legislation. Currently in our country, 42 states do not allow concealed weapons to be carried on school property by civilians. 2 states, one of which is Rhode Island, the other Utah, allow concealed carry without restrictions. The other states, so that's a total of 8 actually, which do allow concealed weapons. Some of the states can have a restriction, such as the gun must be made known to the administration if it's
Ma'am,
brought in.
I should have mentioned this at the beginning. We usually give 3 minutes,
Oh,
so if you could just wrap it up
sure.
real quickly for us, please.
All right, let me get right to the end. Let me just
Thank
tell
you.
you the good news. I'm sorry. So far, the following school committees have adopted the resolution most unanimously: Barrington, Bristol Warren, Charahoe, Cranston, East Greenwich, East Providence, Jamestown, Lincoln, Little Compton, Middletown, Narragansett, Portsmouth, South Kingstown, Warwick, and Woonsocket, for a total of 16. We truly hope, as you did last year, that you again will endorse this resolution.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the resolution be adopted.
Second the motion.
There's a motion and a second for adoption. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, discussion, please.
Mr. Carlin?
Thank you very much. I intend to vote against the resolution. The reason I intend to vote against the resolution is because, and it's very, very, very unfortunate, that just yesterday in California, we saw a terrible situation where 3 individuals were murdered. 2 individuals were murdered. One took his own life. The other 2 were murdered by that individual. I believe that we are sending the wrong message and doing the wrong thing by not permitting those with concealed, permitted weapons to carry said weapons. It's very unfortunate that we live in this type of circumstance, in this type of society, but it's my belief that this is the wrong direction. This is the wrong approach with respect to this resolution, so I will vote against it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay?
Thank you. The resolution passes. The next order of business is under 4.2, the Rhode Island Promise for Scholarship Resolution. Newport School Committee resolution expressing support for the proposed Rhode Island's Promise Scholarship Program, which is included. This is the program that was introduced by Governor Raimondo. Do we have a motion?
I move
Mrs. Gaines?
passage of the proposed resolution. Second.
Dr. Flowers? Second. Second. Any discussion? All of those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous.
Sound system.
Is that good, Frank? Thanks. The next order of business would be item number 4.3, which is, just briefly through these, hold on a second. 4.3, Purple Up for Military Children Resolution. Whereas Newport, along with other school districts, will underscore the important role of the military children in our communities by proclaiming April as the month of a military child. Essentially, these kids go on average to attend 6 to 9 different school systems throughout their lives, from kindergarten to the 12th grade. And in 1986, former Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger designated the month of April as the month of the military child. So if I would have a motion from someone on the floor to accept.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Boland, seconded by Ms. Gaines. Any discussion?
I do.
Ms. Boland?
I just wanted to say, when I ran, I also ran as a military advocate. My husband served 24 years with 6 kids. We did a lot of moving around, and I was very proud when we came to Newport, got right on top of some of the issues that happened back at Rogers. We changed policies there because we had, where we held the auditions for cheerleading, we'd hold them in the spring, and then these military kids would come in September and weren't eligible, so they changed the way they thought, and we started doing, a second set of, so that kids could join at any time during the year. So things have really improved for our military kids. I know that the staff at all the schools are, do everything they can to accommodate kids and to be flexible, in their graduation requirements. And I'm proud that Newport, is a member and does their job doing that. So I just wanted to say that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So noted. That was approved 7-0, unanimous. Thank you. The next order of business is a part of the action items. First action item would be action item 5.1. This is request for approval of a pilot program, Universal Free Breakfast by Chartwells. Chartwells has proposed a pilot program at the Pell School to begin after April vacation and continue to the end of the school year. This timeline should allow enough data to analyze the effect on breakfast counts and assess for the future. Is there a motion out there to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Boland, Ms. Gaines? Is there any discussion on this motion? Mrs. Gaines?
I'll be very brief. It's been a long time coming, but it's finally here. And I think it's something that will definitely help our kids and improve their academic performance overall.
So our health and wellness, just so you know, wholeheartedly supports having, breakfast in the classroom. And we're very happy to see that Chartwell's has worked very closely this year in introducing it. They're introducing a breakfast in the classroom too, which is going to be incredibly helpful. And the teachers that have, 11 have taken it on so far, and there's been no complaints. Kids are eating, as you can see on here, if you read all this information, it increases math scores significantly, the research has said. Because it's interesting, when we used to test kids, what do we do all week? We feed them, because we know that when they're testing, having food when you're being tested is really, helpful. So why don't we feed them when they're learning? You got to think about it. And so it's very exciting to think that next, all kids will be, given the opportunity to eat. And I think if you looked at the feasibility worksheet, it was always a question of whether or not it was going to cost the district money. But if you look at this, the different models of it, we're thinking that, the district isn't going to lose any money on it. It's not a moneymaker, but we just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to eat. So, as you said, it's a long time in coming, but very excited that, and hopefully next year we can just roll it out in September after we try this pilot.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimously passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
And
Ms. Germain?
Yes, I'd just like to let you know that Chartwell's is here this evening, so I want to thank Cindy King, who's been an amazing support person, and she's there for all our families and all our children all the time, and Barbara Cohen's here as well, her administrator, leader, person in charge of all of us. So thank you. Thank you both for being here.
Yes, thank you guys very much. The next action item would be action item 5.2, and that's request for approval of a budget transfer.
I move the transfer be approved.
Second?
There's a second. Is there a discussion? Discussion on this motion? Dr. Flowers?
Just a question, this is transferring from the substitute salary line?
Yes.
It will still be sufficient to,
Yes, if you look at what we have on the line presently, the trend this year so far, we feel, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Roy, but after discussion, we feel we're safe doing this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. The next items on the agenda are the consent agenda. Mr. Gomes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to remove item 6.1 and the last item under 6.2, leave of absence, for discussion in executive session.
I second the motion.
There's a second on that. Mrs. Gaines? Any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? So noted. So we will take up those two particular items in executive session.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Collin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, appreciate it. Notwithstanding Mr. Gomes's, the Vice Chairman's motion, I would like to separate personal actions from the rest of the consent agenda. Thank you.
I believe it was just item number 2 that Mr. Gomes deferred, correct? In that,
6.2, the last item under leave of absence.
so the rest of it would be in. So, Mr. Collin, I'm sorry, just, can you state
No,
that?
no, not at all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Vice Chairman Gomes. If that is the only item on the agenda, then so be it. I would like to separate, if there are any other items on the personnel agenda, I would like to separate those from the consent agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any one in particular that you would
No,
like?
not at all, just the entire personnel.
You're asking to separate it.
Correct, yes. I'd like to separate the personnel action items from the rest of the consent agenda. Thank you.
voting on them separately? I'm sorry,
Yeah, no, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I would like to request that notwithstanding Mr. Gomes's motion, I would like to separate the personnel items from the remainder of the consent agenda.
I'm just going to ask if our legal counsel, Mr. Galvin, could just,
Just to clarify the motion, I'm assuming that's a motion to remove the rest of the personnel matters from the consent agenda?
It's absolutely right, Mr. Galvin, thank you.
Did you want those items to go to executive?
I did not, thank you.
Okay. He has the right to make that motion, and it can be seconded and voted upon.
there is a motion on the floor from Mr. Carlin to separate.
Mr. Chairman, a point of order, and
Is there a
I do
second?
not want to be, I do not want to have, I don't want to
I just want to be
have any
clear, I
trouble
make sure
tonight,
that
but
we're-
that's when I make that motion, that does not require a second, it does not require debate, it's a non-debatable motion.
Yes, it does.
For point of order in this respect, I think it would be more appropriate, you've removed 2 items from the consent agenda. It may be more appropriate to have a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda, seconded, and then Mr. Carlin's motion to remove the personnel, the remaining personnel items from that consent agenda. I think that would be more appropriate to follow.
As Mr. Galvin suggests, Mr. Chairman, I yield to Mr. Galvin's advice and to
And his
your...
motion may or may not pass. It's up to the board.
I don't get it.
Mr. Chairman, I yield to Mr. Galvin's advice.
There should be a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda at this stage. That's what's before you next.
We wanna pull-
Okay.
I want to pull another.
Mr. Chairman,
We can pull another
I
one.
move that we,
No, I have another motion to make.
Don't move anything yet.
Okay.
There's one more that needs to be pulled.
what's that?
It's the number on, would be leave of absences, the second item. We need to pull that so we don't,
Ms. Boland, are you asking to withhold another item until
Yes.
executive session?
yes,
Is that correct?
yes.
And could you just point out what,
I said under leave, second one, under the second, under leave of absence, the second one.
okay, there's a motion to remove one more item off of that personnel action and reserve that until executive session at the end of the meeting.
Seconded.
Seconded by Mr. Gomes. Is there discussion on that item?
There is discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Carlin?
I do not want to prolong this debate, but I believe that I appreciate Mrs. Boland's motion, and I support it. But prior to Mrs. Boland's motion, I also made a request of the committee. So I think we need a little bit of clarification here, if not a lot of clarification. Let's figure out what we're voting on and what we have sent, in effect, to executive session. And I do not want to try to pick a fight or anything of that nature, because I think I am on the same page as Mrs. Boland and as the chairman is, and the vice chairman. Thank you.
At this point in time, removed from the consent agenda is 6.1, and the 5th item of under leave of absence relating to 6.2. That's been removed from the consent agenda.
So far.
So far. The next topic was to remove the remaining personnel matters from the consent agenda, but I thought it might be appropriate for someone to make a motion to adopt the remainder of the consent agenda. Prior to that motion being voted on, Mr. Carlin would make his motion to remove those items. The only thing I would point out, Mrs. Boland's effort to have the second item under leave of absence removed from the consent agenda would not allow you to act on it because it's my understanding that particular individual was not notified of discussion relating to executive session. So you could not discuss her topic in executive session. However, it's my understanding that as it relates to that particular item, the superintendent's recommendation is for denial of that request. So you can vote upon that under the consent agenda, or even if it's removed from the consent agenda, separately if Mr. Carlin's motion passed, but you cannot discuss that particular one in executive.
If Mr. Carlin's motion passes, though, do we pass that motion? Like, he hasn't removed it, so all the items would pass.
No, no one has made the motion to
But he hasn't
approve
made-
the consent agenda just yet.
Okay, so.
Was his motion
Okay.
seconded?
No, he's seeking to not deal with them as consent items and to take each one up individually is what my understanding is, Mr. Carlin. Is that correct? Mr. Carlin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Galvin. I apologize if my motion or my intent was not clear. I do not believe that we are appropriately dealing with one of the issues within the executive committee, or I should say, the personnel items as it is found within the I want to phrase this the right way, Mr. Galvin. As it is found within the action items that we will approve without debate.
Well, again, I repeat, I think the next...
And I apologize,
No,
Mr.
that's
Galvin.
okay.
I want to try to be as clear as I can be.
Yeah. The next...
Under the, there are a number of items, as you know, under this particular action item agenda.
Right.
Item.
The next item I believe that should be before you would be someone making a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda, which consent agenda includes the recommendation of denial for that second item under leave of absence. If that's made and seconded, I think then Mr. Carlin would be making a motion to amend that to remove everything from the consent agenda. Is that correct?
Let me ask for a, if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Let me ask through you, Mr. Chairman, a question to our legal counsel.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Galvin, I do not approve of what is being put before us in this particular action item. How do I stop this particular action item before us?
Right. There are two ways you're going to voice that disapproval. One, you'd be voting against, if someone made a motion to approve the consent agenda, you'd be voting against it. You would be expressing your discussion on that vote relative to that. Or, separately, you would be seeking to remove any of the items you want to express your points of view on from that consent agenda. And if that's seconded, then those items would be removed from the consent agenda. Those are the two ways to achieve that.
Thank you, Mr. Galvin. Mr. Chairman, who has the floor, please?
Currently, I believe we have to go back and based upon your clarification, Mr. Galvin, your next course of action is suggestive of somebody making a motion to accept the remainder of the consent agenda, except for what we've already voted and approved to hold in executive session. So I would say that right now, the floor is open.
Correct?
Correct.
For such a motion, and just bear in mind that...
At that point, Mr. Carlin, if that was seconded to accept,
Correct.
would be able to make the motion to do such as you would like.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, point of information,
Yes.
if I might, question to the chair. Before us now, is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent regarding personnel actions as it is seen on the consent agenda?
Nobody has made that motion yet.
Mr. Chairman?
We're to that point of if that motion to be made, then that would be predicated on the fact that there was a recommendation from the superintendent. So nobody has yet made a motion to accept the remainder of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very confused about
I'm
what
a little- I think
what
I
I'm
got it.
voting on, so I
got it.
appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Gaines.
I move passage of the consent agenda, of the remainder of the consent agenda.
No, don't do that.
I can make the motion.
Yeah,
With
second.
the exceptions as noted.
Second.
There's a motion and it's been seconded by Ms. Sylvia
I'm going to clarify what the
to
exception is
accept
noted.
the remainder of the consent agenda, but we've already removed what Mr. Gomes has asked to hold in executive session. So the remainder of the consent agenda has now been a motion to accept, which has the recommendations
know.
from the superintendent in it,
Because you made a
and seconded by Ms. Sylvia.
That's how it says that.
And
Mr.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
believe-
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, that motion as now pending includes the recommendation of denial of that second item under leave of absence, correct?
That
So
is
that's
correct.
what's presently pending before the body as a motion. And you've got-
Now there will be discussion.
Yeah, okay, so I have a question for the
So I'm going to follow up with the legal, because this is very important, we're emphasizing this, because if you look on the paper in front of you, the effective dates of these requests, someone, if they looked at it, might think I was approving. I am not approving the leave of absence for number 2.
And that is the recommendation of which we have been
So,
given from you.
just to be perfectly clear, counsel, shouldn't that then say to not approve? Like, so it looks like to anybody who reads the blue notes, right, once again, it will look as if that we approved, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't say to not approve this one.
But you're approving her consent agenda that she's presenting to you with her recommendations in it. So that's why it's
So
phrased
they
that
added
way.
those words, so that's in there. Okay, I just want to make sure.
That's right.
Correct. That is attached. So is there any further discussion, Mr. Carlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it very much. And let me say, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the way you've handled this very difficult discussion. Same for my colleagues. This is a really tough discussion. And I don't want to take up a lot of time, but what I would like to ask, Mr. Chairman, if I might, through you, may I ask our legal counsel, may I first ask our superintendent, and if necessary, our legal counsel a question?
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Superintendent Germain, was this issue taken up at the last full publicly held Newport School Committee meeting? Not, let me clarify, Superintendent Germain, Mr. Chairman, members. Not a subcommittee meeting, not a special meeting. At the last Newport School Committee meeting, was this particular issue dealt with?
Mr. Carlin, I'm sorry, can you clarify which particular issue you're referring to?
Yes, I would like to ask about the request for a leave of absence, which you, or I'm not sure, I should back it up a step.
The one I'm denying?
Well, if you
The
would
one,
like to put it that way.
one that my recommendation is to
Yeah,
deny?
if you'd like to put it that way, that's fine.
That- yeah.
I
And I'm
wanna-
required to put them all on before the school committee. That's why it's on the agenda before the school committee. But my recommendation is to deny number 2, leave of absence.
Okay, so I appreciate that very much. Was this particular item dealt with at the last Newport School Committee meeting?
No.
It was not, okay. So this is the first time that the Newport School Committee is dealing with this particular item. Please forgive me, I
No,
do not
no.
have the information that I should.
No, it was not presented. This is the
Okay.
first time you're seeing it.
It's the first time.
You're seeing this request.
Thank you very
yes.
much. Please answer me, I don't mean to say it that way, but is there a particular reason why you are denying this request?
She doesn't have to do that here.
The motion's on the consent agenda right now. I think we don't even know if it comes over the consent.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, if I'm out of order, if I am not asking...
I'm seeking legal right now.
I think they're just
Right,
making
yeah.
sure that we're
Thank you.
doing this
Right,
appropriately.
right now, there's a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda, which includes the recommendation of denial of that item number 2.
Correct.
If Mr. Carlin wants to amend that motion to be able to discuss any one of the remaining ones individually, as he's about to do, he should make that motion, have it seconded, voted on, and then all those questions can be asked. If it's not, then it would be a vote on the consent agenda. But I think, or even if it's just the one item he wants to remove to ask questions about, he should make that motion to remove it, have it seconded, and voted on, and then those questions can be asked.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Carlin.
Mr. Galvin, you know that that is not what I'm doing. You know that there is, and Mrs. Germain understands, and I don't want to cause trouble. I just want the right answers. You know that what I am asking for is an answer to what was put before us on the agenda. So
But
what you
that's-
just said, Mr. Galvin,
But wait a
is
minute.
not making any sense to me.
Let's-
Because if it is on the agenda, then I have the right to ask the questions about it. If the superintendent and others would like to have seen this in executive session, so be it. But this is on the public agenda, and I would like to ask the question, and I don't see why I'm not allowed to ask the question. Or at least I don't see why I am not allowed to get the answer to my question.
If you're asking a question relating to something that's been removed to executive session, that's where those questions should be asked. If you're asking a question relating to something else, which I'm not sure if you are or not, if you are, then you should make, there's a motion pending relative to adopting the consent agenda. You should make a motion to remove that item from the consent agenda so you can ask all the questions you want about it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
why is the obligation on me to remove such a motion and place it into executive session? You, not you, Mr. Galvin, but the administration has placed this in open session.
Right.
Why am I not entitled to seek the answers to these questions?
It doesn't have to go to executive session. All I'm saying is there's a motion to approve the consent agenda right now. And you're seeking to have more questions and not do it by vote. It's my understanding you should make a motion to remove whichever item you want to remove so that it can be discussed more fully.
Mr. Chairman,
can
can
do
I
that
have
in
the
open.
motion read back to me, please?
Ms. Nash.
Mr. Gaines made a motion to adopt the remainder of the consent agenda, including the recommendation of the superintendent, which includes the recommendation of denial of item number 2 under leave of absence.
Mr. Chairman, I do not believe that the recommendation of the superintendent is appropriate. And Mr. Galvin has apparently, and I respect and appreciate Mr. Galvin's opinions, but Mr. Galvin has apparently told me and us that we need to do it a different way. So I'll take a shortcut. I recommend that my colleagues vote against the superintendent's recommendation. If you are voting for the superintendent's recommendation, then you are doing the individual a disservice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Dr. Flowers?
Just a brief question. Once discussion narrows down, excuse me, to a particular person, a particular position, am I wrong or in assuming that this becomes personnel and therefore this discussion is best held in an executive session?
Well, at the moment, you've only got two things you've removed to executive session. The remainder of the consent agenda is before you in the open meeting.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Carlin has expressed his reasons why he would not support this, which is his right, and this is our debate right now. You asked the question, So, no, I know, and that's, so we currently have the motion on the floor as stated and seconded, which was to approve with the recommendation of the superintendent to deny that number 2 under leave without pay, a leave of absence.
Mr. Chairman, and again, I would not want to be in your position, and I appreciate you. My colleague, Dr. Flowers, just mentioned personnel. For the record, it is not personnel, N-E-L-L. It is personnel, N-A-L. There are differences clearly stated. And Mr. Chairman, actually, as long as I have the floor, may I ask the legal counsel for a clarification?
Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Galvin, is there a difference between personnel, A-L, and personnel, E-L-L?
Yes, when it comes to the open meetings exceptions, it relates to personnel matters, including physical and mental health, job performance, things of that sort. It commonly, quite often, gets referred to as personnel matters because it deals quite often with employment situations. But to be accurate, the exception relating to executive session relates to personal matters of the individuals involved.
Can you spell that for me? And I apologize,
Sure.
Mr. Galvin. Can you spell what you just said out for the public? Thank you.
A-L at the end of the word.
Thank you, Mr. Galvin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the question.
Second the motion. It's necessary.
There's been a request to move the motion. We have any, is there a second?
I did.
Mrs. Gaines.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So noted. The motion on the floor is to accept the remainder of the consent agenda items 6.2 and 6.3, inclusive of the recommendation from the superintendent to not recommend a leave for the second, number 2, under leave of absence. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay?
The motion passes. Next items on the agenda are the correspondence.
No, Mr. Chairman, I believe we need to vote, oh, no, we did the
The
6.3,
remaining-
correct.
Yeah, we
That was
did
in
that.
Yes. 7.0. All correspondence received prior to the close of business as of March 31st is included. We have a communication to receive from Attorney Michael Dolan, RE T-Mobile antenna at RHS. I believe that's the only item that we are receiving. The only action we are doing tonight is simply receiving the letter. We make no action on this.
So moved.
Second.
There's no action on that, I don't think. Correct. Next would be the reports from the staff. We have an expenditure and revenue report by the business manager, Mr. Tapas Roy. Tapas, you could, do we have a microphone for Mr. Roy so the people at home can hear him? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so in the month of March, so far we have spent a little over $24 million, and we are still watching our expenses and remaining costs in spending. Last month, in our report in February, we identified there are few items in the benefit category that were misreported, and we have adjusted those lines for this month's report. So what happened is in line 22, 23, and 25, we included the pension account to that one in error, which we noted that, and then we adjusted it in the month of March. But this error with the benefit group, it didn't change the whole expenditure report because one was stated incorrectly short, and then the other one was incorrectly stated understatement. So the adjustment has been done for the month of March, and we're moving forward.
So this is merely a correction
Correct.
in the accounting of those particular
Correct.
line items.
Right, exactly.
Thank you, okay.
So also in the expenditure side, we noted that we had to make an adjustment into our budget, in which we talked 2 minutes ago that we moved $20,000 from substitute salary to the arbitration account because we had a shortfall in that. We made that adjustment, and we hope that we will be able to manage the substitute account within that, what we have now.
Okay.
On the revenue side, so we have submitted our impacted audit questionnaires to the impacted program. We know that they received it, they're reviewing it. We're just waiting for the response to come back to us. And on the grant side, which is the next item, that we have added 5 new grants to that, which is total about $130,000. And out of that $130,000, we have $3,000 in the state restricted grant, and the remaining $126,500 is in the local restricted grant.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Roy on items 8.1 or 8.2?
I just
I'm
have
sorry,
a
Ms.
question
Gaines?
of the superintendent. Are you going to talk about the bar grant later on?
Yes, in my report.
Okay.
I do want to, I think because we are at the budget time, I do want to mention, and we have a meeting tomorrow with Mr. Harab, but we have had to have extensive emergency repairs at Rogers High School. And that has, with our repair and maintenance budget, we'll be reviewing that. We'll be giving you a detailed report on that and how we're going to be addressing those expenditures. The facility is, has lived a long life, and we're now seeing that we have quite a few
Issues.
things we need to address, and a bigger conversation maybe in the near future on Rogers High School.
Thank you, Tapas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next items are going to be the reports given to us by the superintendent, and I'll go over them all, and Ms. Jermaine, you can highlight us on the areas of these particular ones. We have 8.3, the enrollment reports and demographics. 8.4, the homeless reports. 8.5, chronic early absenteeism truancy reduction initiative update. 8.6, college and career readiness report. And 8.7, the superintendent's update, partnerships and collaborations. Superintendent Jermaine, if you could give us an overview of these reports, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for most of our reports, from 8.3 to our enrollments through homeless, the counts remain. There isn't any significant changes. Chronic early absenteeism truancy reduction initiative. We are, through the Newport Partners for Families, Sharon Carter, and our partner, Child and Family Service, we will be submitting a request for a follow-up grant for that. We have found through the third, when we're coming upon the third year, we've seen some improvements, but we still have a lot of work to do. So there will be another grant submitted by Newport Partners for Families to help us in the data collection, to have a more thorough data collection that can help identify students earlier as far as an early warning system for truancy, and also we're looking into mentors. The more we're looking at this as far as the importance of mentorship and the importance of having a strong adult advocate in children's lives, it's making students want to come to school more. So we're tweaking what we've done in the first round of this grant, and we're taking some of the positions that were listed out as we embarked on this initiative, and we're actually following the data, and we're repurposing and having people's positions changed to be more on site in our buildings, mentoring with our students, and also for the community resource coordinator, having that person actually report to the school department. Presently, it was reporting to Child and Family Services, and through discussions and the data we were looking at, it appears that the direct connection, the more face-to-face with boots on the ground and working with our own personnel, that position may be more effective that way. We're also requesting that the truancy judge meet with our families twice a year instead of one. We found that to be very powerful when Judge Levesque met with our families and students to explain the importance of being in school and to help families identify ways we as schools, as a school system, can be more receptive to them. So we're excited about that, and we're learning all the time what we can do better to help support our families in the community. The College and Career Readiness Report, Ms. Clark presented a very thorough report to you. In that report, you'll see there's a lot going on. We have a large enrollment as far as our Career and Tech Center. It's the largest yet. And we're working on the scheduling. We've been meeting weekly with Assistant Superintendent Dr. Bean and the high school staff, and we'll probably be coming in on a couple of Saturday mornings to kind of map it all out so we have a full staffing of what we need. Because as we heard this afternoon, and as Ms. Seichert is smiling from ear to ear, we have more students, and we have to make sure our staffing is appropriate to meet those needs of those students. And finally, to what Mrs. Gaines was alluding to, we recently found out that we were successful, and we will have a press release going out soon about this, but we were successful and we did obtain the Bar Foundation grant. And for those in the audience, that's $150,000 for professional development and to help support teachers, students, and parents, because we want parents involved in this initiative. It's about how can we make our high school what we all want it to be. And we will be looking for parents to participate and be on this as far as helping to create a model, a design that as a community we want. As parents, you want to send your children to the high school, a high school in which children want to be, and a place where teachers want to be and bring the joy back in teaching. It sounds corny, but that's what our goal is. And by June 2018, if we have a design after research, meetings, visiting other high schools that we research that we feel have great designs and would be a good model for Newport, the flights, the visits, everything is going to be supported with the Bar Foundation, and we're waiting to hear about a matching grant. Will give us almost $280,000 for our teachers, parents, and students to put this all together. If we are successful in June 2018, then Bar will fund the school anywhere from $250,000 to an additional $300,000 to implement for the first year and again in the following year. So, did you say it's crazy? It's a good crazy. They're very interested in supporting Newport Public Schools, and we're just all very excited. And this afternoon I did present this to the Rogers High School faculty, and as I said, whoo, we got it. Now we got to do the work. So we'll see how it goes. Okay?
Didn't you leave out one component of that bringing together?
We're bringing students. That's what I said. We actually have student leadership that they can participate in and get training. And we need to reach down also to our 8th grade families, middle school, for the children that will be coming to the high school in the future.
Thank you.
Okay?
And
All right, thank you.
Ms. Jackson, you've heard this exciting news, and this is one of the things. Our superintendent works tirelessly. She listens to, she gets back to her emails, she answers her phone, but if there's any ideas, you hear what's going on here, we need the support of the parents to make this whole thing happen. We need the community support from this, so any information we can get out, and however we need to get it out, we can, and certainly reach out to the superintendent if you guys have ideas, if there's easier ways within your communities for us to get this information out so we can get the parents and the kids and everybody on board with this Bar grant is an excellent way to try to fix and smooth out and really strengthen our high school.
And as I shared with the staff, everyone, including I shared with the staff today, the importance of parent and community input with our parents. And your time is very valuable too. So it's paid consultancy with parents and families. So we want everyone to be part of the team.
And the full report will come out to explain this as well. I mean, you
Yes.
just gave us a very briefing of what it's all about. But
And I'll have a PowerPoint. The PowerPoint did this afternoon. We'll send to the faculty. I'll share with the committee, and we'll post it. Okay?
Ms. Boland, you had, I see you,
I just
Jennifer.
wanted to say that there's a really powerful, I know that we had some complaints about just websites, but if you go to the Newport website now, we have something like they have in the city of Newport. They have Report It. We basically have a Report It on on our own website, but it's not just to complain, it's also to write anything that you, suggestions, and there's all kinds of different categories. They send them to the school committee, it goes to an administrator, so the minute something happens, you can get on it, put something like, wow, something great happened today, or I have a suggestion how better to deal with this, and you'll get a response. And so it's the word's just getting out about this website, and it's really could be powerful.
It is, it is. The other thing is, so that's the bar, and that's the high school. We have an exciting news about our little ones, too. As far as pre-K, Newport is one of, I think it was 39 or 37 cities that's going to be recognized for its efforts in early childhood, specifically here at the Pell Elementary School, and the outreach we're trying to do with our community as far as for all children, 0 through 21, but particularly because we know our little ones, that's the most formative years. And we've actually been invited to go out to Denver and to speak with the people, but also we'll be eligible for more funding, hopefully, in the future. So it's called the Pace Setter Award, but it's very exciting. So we got the high school, we got the elementary work going on. It's focused on literacy, but we also know, as Dr. Bean and many of our conversations have had, we have a focus on math in the middle school, so we're working on that.
Excellent, thank you. Jennifer, did you have a question, or did you want to?
Just a quick question. When you get, you gotta go to the mic. Can you send me information so I can reach out to people and consider myself? I'm really interested in that.
Miss Jennifer Jackson just requested, for those of you on TV, she wants to help. So we're going to send her the information so she can network her families that she knows. Good job.
We got Jessica and Nico.
Go to the mic. Can you go to the mic?
Thanks, Jess.
My voice is loud. Okay, so I guess my question, to kind of go off of what Jennifer was saying, was there should be a way that all parents can learn about this information, and giving parents the exact basic bulleted point informations, who to contact, how it works, you're gonna get paid, and stuff like that, so that parents can know that it's easy to find on how to get involved. You know, I think that would be really helpful for this, you know, to go out to all parents.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
We'll
Great
send
point.
it to you, too.
Excellent point. Ms. Gaines?
Would it be possible for the community organizations maybe to invite staff or committee members who might have this information to come to them and present the information on bar?
Oh, yes, we could do that. Yes, sure.
She'll just ask us to come to a meeting.
Mr. Collins, did you have
It's
a
another
comment?
meeting.
Wait for Mrs. Gaines, yeah?
All set.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, should I wait for, what? I'm looking at the agenda, and I don't know whether I should ask a question. The superintendent has a number of reports, so I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I will just ask and see if the chairman
Okay.
approves. The question I have, Mr. Chairman, for the superintendent, I'm looking at the UCOA reports, and I think that is to say from the Rhode Island Department of Education. And I think these were as of St. Patrick's Day, 3/17.
It's a good day. Good day.
2017, obviously. My question for you, a couple of questions. Superintendent Germain,
Mr. Carlin, do I have this information in front of me?
I would hope so. You sent it to us.
What's the title?
Okay?
It's on the agenda?
Is it in
Is
the
this on the agenda?
Is it one of the agenda items, Mr. Collin, or is it?
It is, I would suggest that it's appropriate under superintendent reports. I received it in an email from the superintendent. So perhaps it is not appropriate under superintendent reports. Perhaps I should ask it in another forum.
If you don't have the information in front of you.
Yeah,
I
no,
think-
no,
Another
not a
forum's
problem.
appropriate.
I just, in a general inquiry,
I think
I
another
would
forum's
like to
appropriate.
ask, I'm looking at the UCOA reports. It appears as though our per pupil expenditures are still the highest in the state. Is there a reason why?
Same reason it's always been.
Looks as though our
If you
legal.
have an answer for the question, I mean, I know it's not on the agenda, but.
No, you know what? You know what? I will request this information from the
next agenda?
superintendent, and I will, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I will not ask this question tonight.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Any other questions on the reports that were presented to us this evening? Seeing none, the next agenda item would be suggested.
Move to accept the reports from the
I don't know that
superintendent.
we necessarily need to accept the reports.
We usually do. We usually do.
Okay, motion to accept the reports as read.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So noted. Meeting dates and agenda items for the next meetings. As you're all aware, we're all accessible by either cell phone, emails, or what have you. If you guys out there have any items you would like us to address or bring up, please do. We try to get our agenda together about 7 to 10 days prior to the next upcoming meeting. So if there's anything you would like, you can reach out to any one of us that are seated up here, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, or whomever you would like to bring these items up to have them discussed or spoken about at our meetings. Judging from the turnout, which is a little better than we usually have, we were going to try to do this at least 3 times a year out here in the north end to try to see if we can get some more participation, which is great. I love to see the new faces. It's exciting to see new faces at the meetings, which is good because that means we get the community coming in and behind us. So any of these items that you would like to bring up, just feel free. You can call us, email us, however you want to do. Stop us in the grocery store if you happen to see us. We all live here, so that's fine.
I have
Yes, Ms. Boland?
one suggestion. Can we bring up start times? There's been a request from.
At the next meeting?
At the next meeting, yeah. So-
Certainly. We can do that. What are the next, I got to go over the meeting dates. I'm sorry. I want to make sure that we have a bunch of them actually listed, starting with April 13th. We have a subcommittee meeting or get-together, finance advisory. I believe that was canceled. Am I correct with that?
Correct, that was postponed.
That one
till
was
the
postponed.
April 20th.
We have a Newport School Committee workshop about the telecommunications tower, which is on April 25th, 2017. That's going to be in room 24 at the Career and Technical Center at 5 o'clock. I know there's been some emails back and forth, but that is the scheduled date for this workshop on April 25th. May 9th, we have a regular school committee meeting. May 25th, we have a budget workshop with the City Council. And on June 13th, we also have a regular school committee meeting.
And we have the meeting scheduled with legislators.
We have a legislative meeting, which is scheduled for the 24th, I believe.
Monday.
Monday, the 24th, with our legislative delegation from upstate.
6 p.m.
At 6 p.m. And where's that going to be at, Ms. Sylvia?
Right, at NACTech.
And that's going to be at the Career Tech Center in room 924. That's open to the public, so.
And do we have a policy meeting this Friday, Dr.
Yes,
Blas?
we do.
We have a
April
policy meeting the
14th.
14th. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Friday morning.
10 o'clock in the Career and Tech room. I think I got them all.
Yep.
At this point in time, I will state that there will be a motion to go into executive session. We will adjourn from this meeting, recess from this meeting. We're gonna have to come out and report back. Unsure how long this meeting's gonna take. It could be some time, but we will, in fact, be coming out. I'm sorry, but I don't know how much time this will take because there'll be some debate and deliberation. You're more than welcome to sit around. But the meeting, we will be coming back out after our meeting to report out in public. So I don't know if there's a motion on the floor right now.
Lost my agenda. Mr. Chairman, I lost my
Ray Gomes?
Okay, right to it.
Motion, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to move into executive session. The school committee may seek to convene if warranted executive session under jurisdiction of Rhode Island State Law, Chapter 45, 42-46-5, exceptions A1, personnel matters, and the person or persons affected have been notified in advance in writing and advised that they may require that the discussion be held in an open session.
Second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are going to recess now, folks, but again, at some point in time, we're going to come back out and finish up. Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. Very much.
Thank you.
They all did, yes, sir.
I wrote everything on, and you want to give him yours.
You may want to talk to him, Sean, he's right there behind you, he has a very interesting opinion.